G'day everybody, welcome to episode 50 of the SmartB Sports Update. Great to have your company. I've got good news and bad news. I'll start with the bad news. Unfortunately, John is not with us. He's unwell, I'm sorry to say. But the very good news is we have a very special guest with us. We've got 2003 Premiership winning captain and New South Wales and Australian representative Craig Gower with us tonight. So welcome, Craig. Great to have you on the podcast.
Dan, thank you very much. It's great to be here. Yeah, he's a big fella anyway. Is he a bit
yeah,
crook?
I think he came down with the flu today, unfortunately.
So that was a big night last night, was it? Or
Don't really want to say. Don't want to get myself in trouble with the boss. But yeah, great to have you. Thanks for stepping in for John today, Craig. Really appreciate it. Mate, I thought I'd just start by just checking what you're up to now and if you're still involved with the game, what your involvement is at the moment.
Yeah, last year I was just a couple of years ago I was doing stuff with the juniors at Penrith, just with the flag and so forth, and no, I enjoyed the time, but just with business and that at the moment, it's been pretty hectic. But I got the pleasure to assistant coach with Darren Baker at St Mary's and in the Massey. We took the grand final out last year, which was great. It was great for the club. We got beaten in Sydney Shield, but fantastic year. I started out helping the boys this year. I've just been sort of taken away with work, so. Yeah. Unfortunately, I haven't been down there as much as I would like. Hopefully, work eases up a little bit and I can get down there and show my face. So obviously, the boys play a trial on the weekend. So the season's obviously about to start to kick back in, and great bunch of boys, fantastic club, well run club, St Mary's, and you see what they do for the community, let alone the amount of money they put back into rugby league. It's certainly fantastic to be associated with them.
Yeah, awesome, mate. I've sort of got to start off by how could I go past how your Penrith Panthers are going at the moment. You captained them to their second premiership back in 2003. You must be delighted that they've managed to go 3, 4 and 5 in 2021, 22 and 23.
Yeah, really, who would have thought? Especially these day and age of salary cap and how tight the competition is, but it just shows you when you put the infrastructure in place correctly. If you could, it's either you like it or you don't like it. But Phil Gill was the start of that when he came to Penrith, and obviously there's maybe a little bit of bad blood, who knows? But he done a great job, and to Penrith's credit, they continued on when he left, and there was a few coaching changes and the rest of it, and now Ivan came in and he's done a wonderful job. But you really look at those young kids that have come through and propelled themselves into first graders, and you just don't do that by luck. It's certainly a lot of hard work that's gone into it across the board, and it's just wonderful to see that the team is doing so well, but also the community as well, because these young kids keep propelling and keep getting better and keep challenging each other, and it works out to be, I think there's nearly 550 to 600 teams actually. Wow. in the junior league in Penrith. So certainly, when you've got a nursery like that, and if you don't take advantage of it, and we certainly didn't there for a number of years, and that hurt us. And but now, the boys are flying, and the biggest thing for the club itself is replenishing these great players, and they're doing a great job at the moment, doing a wonderful job actually. But you keep taking away international players. It's at some time it's going to hurt somewhere, and hopefully, I don't think it's going to be this year. But with Jerome leaving, there's going to be a hole there, and hopefully there's going to be another young Jarome Luai, Nathan Cleary come through and take full advantage of it.
Yeah, so how you don't think it's going to be this year? So how do you rate their chances of winning 4 in a row this year? If I have to put you on the spot, sorry.
Well, I think it's as high as it was last year.
Okay, so you think they're right in there with a shot?
And the reason why I say that, you look at the nucleus of their team. You've still got Edwards, Luai, Nathan, and Mitch Kenny.
Yeah.
Now, I was a bit worried when obviously Appy left. Just on the fact that Appy's a wonderful player. He gives you so creative out of dummy half, and the way he ball plays and his deception around dummy half. That gave Nathan so much time, and I thought, that could be a hindrance for him. Mm-hmm. But Mitch Kenny, he's a wonderful bloke, but also the way he works, his defence is unbelievable. But I think it's even his running game now is gotten better, and I think he's just going to improve to another level. And so you look at that, your spine's the same. Then you got Fisher Harris, Leota, Yowie, in the pack. So that's maybe you look at centre then, but you got Taylor May coming back from injury. And then you got Alamotti that's come from the Dogs. Yeah, he goes it right as well. So, and you put him into that system, certainly it's going to be tough. And I left Liam Marto out, unbelievable. Yeah. What a player he is. So for me, it's going to be injuries. That's the only thing that's going to beat them.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously Stephen Crichton going to the Bulldogs and Spencer Leniu going to the Roosters. They're big outs, aren't they?
Of course they're big outs. And, certainly Stephen is a massive out because he's such a wonderful centre. He's a big body. Defensively, he's outstanding. Yeah. And that just gives you so much faith for those edge players when you've got a bloke that knows how to read. And centre and winger now these days is probably one of the most hardest places to defend because you've got to make decisions. Especially when you're tight on the inside or someone's lazy and they're not getting across. It's either you come in and out or what. So it's certainly that's a big thing. Spencer is a great player. He comes on, he makes impact, he delivers for the team. Mm-hmm. But there's a difference between playing on the bench and playing up front, starting out. Yeah. So he's going to have to go to that next level, and I'm sure he can. But it's just there's always question marks. You always got to ask yourself, can this bloke do it under this occasion? And until they do. You just don't know.
Yeah, I remember seeing Leniu score a try last year where he literally, came off the back fence, just hit him from 10 metres out, ran through about 3 defenders to score from close range. Yeah. But it's about maintaining that consistency, isn't it?
That's right. But he's learned from the best, but too. Fisher Harris, Moses has just improved out of sight over a number of years, and now he's going behind Hargraves. So, they're seasoned professionals, and, I'm sure that he'll go to that level. Mm-hmm. But as I said, it's just more about the fact that, he's got to go there and do it for the Roosters.
Yeah, absolutely, Craig. There was one quote from Ivan Cleary. We talked about Jerome. We touched on Jerome Luai just before, how he'll be going to the Tigers in 2025. There was one quote from Ivan Cleary from October last year that was of interest to me, and I thought I'd just run it past you. He said, talking about Luai, he said, if any club, the money he may consider leaving, it would have to be for that kind of role, being the chief playmaker, which I would understand. That was what Cleary said in October. Then he added, is he ready for that? That's a question mark, I would think. Can he do it? I'm sure he could do it. Has he done it? He hasn't really. So Ivan sort of put a bit of a question mark on Luai's ability to be the chief playmaker at a club. I just thought, obviously, as a superstar, former playmaker yourself, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that one.
I find that quite entertaining.
Yeah, quite entertaining. Yeah, so did I.
And typical Ivan playing it cool. Trying to not drive the price up for one of his players. Trying to keep him at $850 or whatever the club could afford. Yeah. Now, certainly questions. Because he is not a typical organiser as such. Yeah. But when you got blokes that can play at the highest level and they play State of Origin, they know how to play the game. And if you look at Benji Marshall, what he did in the later parts of his career, he changed the way he played because he had to. He wasn't as fast or he wasn't as dynamic and as he was when he first came out. So he had to change and be that bloke that can get him around the park. Sean Johnson. Have a look at Sean Johnson at the moment.
Yeah.
He had his best year he's ever played in his career by playing more of a controlled game instead of just playing a little bit more off the cuff and so forth. But he had a standout season. So
absolutely,
it can be done. It might take a little bit for him to understand it. But, who better to teach it than Benji Marshall, who actually had to do it himself. So I really look at that, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity. It's more the fact that can the West Tigers actually have other people around him to sort of ease that burden. But when you have got Appy there and who can take a bit of pressure off him, and then you've got these couple of young guys from Manly that have just gone there. So there could be some good signs there. But I think Ivan just there was just playing the game, but when you throw questions like that gets a player up. Like, righto, I'll show you. I'll show you I can do it.
Yeah.
And then I'll go and sign me 1.2. Like, at the end of the day, what person in their right mind would pass up that opportunity to set up your family with that sort of coin? Like, it's not like the fact is that he went there for 50 grand or 100 grand because then you lose it half in tax anyway. Yeah. This is a substantial amount of money that you just can't leave on the table as a player.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a no-brainer for me. I as soon as that offer come on board, I said to everyone, he's gone.
Yeah.
And as Penrith, you wouldn't want to lose those players. But the funny thing is, I look back a few years, and we had a player named Isaiah Katoa there.
Yeah.
And I spoke to Jimmy Jones, who's the player recruitment guy, and they were unhappy that Wayne got him to the Dolphins. But I said, well, what do you want? The kid's 16, 17 coming through, and the way I watched him train, I just knew that his ability was out of this world. He had so much time, even against these older blokes, where he made them look like subpar because of the way he could get around the field.
Yeah.
And so if you're looking at that kid and I'm looking up and I've got Nathan in front of me and Luai in front of me, I'm going. You have to go because he was ready to play first grade. And you've seen like last year, it wasn't a standout year for him.
Yeah.
But geez, he done well. And knowing the way Wayne coaches, he would have just had him just building his confidence, making him a better player. And it'll be interesting to see how he plays this year because I reckon he'll have a breakout year up at the Dolphins. So it's he's a quality young player, and that's the thing. That's when you develop these young guys and you can't keep them all, and that's where I know the
salary cap.
Well, salary cap, and when you're winning, people look to you. Like it was the same when Melbourne Storm. They looked at them because you looked at the way that they performed, the way that they played. You try and steal this, you want to play like Melbourne style, and you try and break down their game to try and suit you. But the only thing when you try and take things, you're a year behind.
Yeah.
So you're not as good.
Yeah.
So you're better off coming up with your own sort of techniques.
That's a great point.
To your players, to be able to coach your players to become your own team. So you can be the best at your own team, not the way someone else plays. Yeah,
you got to play to your own strengths, don't you? And I was reading a lot about. Sorry to go off topic slightly, but I'm reading a lot about Andrew Webster at the Warriors and how they had that really good season in his first year there, and just reading about his ability to get the best out of the players on his roster and not needing to recruit very much.
Yeah.
That's an example of a team who really played to their own strengths and weren't looking at what other sides were doing last year.
I don't know, Andrew, but just the way that he communicated, at the presentation, like later in the year when he won the Coach of the Year and so forth, it's just a real humbling sort of person. And it just seems like that he would give everything to his players, and they could see it. Like some coaches just can't do that; they just don't have that sort of personality. So I think. And with the Polynesian boys, that's what they need to feel.
Yeah,
it's the makeup of them, how they are. It's always been the way where those guys you can't give them a spray or like be the old school where the coach just rip you apart. It just doesn't work. That doesn't work for them. They need to be they need to feel the love, but also on their way you go, well, how about you do this instead of doing that, because that's where you get yourself in a little bit of trouble, defensively or in attack or all that sort of stuff. So I think he's just done a wonderful job to unite that team, and the biggest question mark, I suppose, to the Warriors, can he have that same effect on them this year? Which I think he can, because they bought into it, they enjoyed it. They seen what winning looks like. They know what winning looks like now and what feels like. So their standards, it has to be higher this year. That they have to feel that we're already confident because we know we can perform. And, I think they've got a couple more players in as well.
Yeah, RTS is back. Yeah, played for the All Blacks.
Yeah, well,
went away, played rugby for a couple of years.
Yeah. And I seen Roger a clip of him, sharp as ever. He can play centre, which is going to be interesting, because then now he has to make those reads where he's been out of the game. So that could get a bit messy for him. But what a wonderful player he is, and certainly he'll be back for the back five. So that's going to give him another 10. He'll have to carry for 200 a game for sure.
100%. Yeah, there's every indication the Warriors are going to do as well as last season, if not better.
And the second row from Broncos that played at Penrith, correct? He's gone there. I've gone blank. Kate.
Kate will. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Got within a few minutes of winning the Premiership last year. At
the Broncos.
Yeah. And
unfortunately, they didn't.
And then Nathan stepped in and sorted that one out. But just back on the Panthers, just back on Luai for a sec. Do you think there's any issue with that comment from Cleary of them sort of working together going forward? Do you think there'll be any lingering issue, or not at all?
Oh no, definitely not. Just pure for the reason Ivan's probably known Jerome since he was 16, 15, when Nathan, they were playing together at ball, and so I think it's more of a bit of a rev up for him that he can go, well, he can sort of take that role as well. If Nathan doesn't play, well, he'll have to step up, because Jack Cog is not there no more. I know they've got a couple of other young guys who will get their opportunity, but he'll have to step in and play that role and show him that it can be done. So I think, with Jerome, I think it'll be just water off a duck's back, I think,
I'm sure they would have addressed the matter privately.
I don't. Well, really, what's it? It was an opinion about something a role that he's never played before, because he's more of a floater. He more plays off the cuff. He doesn't play a directive role. So, it's a fair comment. Yeah. But I look at it the other way, where he's going, well, we've got $850 to spend. We're trying to keep him at $850. And that's, I think there's more along those lines. Let alone not making him being detrimental to the way he plays the game.
Yeah, and then the Tigers had no choice. They had to go for Luai, and they had to sign him, didn't they?
Who's on the market?
Yeah. And of the players on the market, he was the best available, and that's it.
Quality halves are hard to come by, and at the end of the day, he's won 3 grand finals. I know players that have played the game that were unbelievable players that never won one. Yeah. So Trent Barrett, love Baz. Baz was an unbelievable player, but he never got to win one.
Yeah, absolutely. Just moving along, mate. I was just going to get your thoughts on the thrilling 2023 grand final. It was just an extraordinary finish. Brisbane leading 24-8 with 18 minutes to go. Try to Moses Leota with 18 to go, and then Stephen Crichton at the 67th minute. And then Nathan Cleary at the 76th minute, and of course Cleary going on to win the Clive Churchill medal. What were your emotions at that time, sitting down watching the?
Dan, do I be truthful here, or do I?
Go for it.
I'll tell a story. Well, we're in Noosa, and it was my mate's 50th, and so we started early. But we had the screens up because everyone from Penrith come up to Noosa, and but when Ezra Mann scored those 3, we're thinking, we're puckering, we're puckering here. We're just thinking, what's going on here? And then to see Nathan go slice them open, put Moses away. I think the biggest turning point, was the 40-20. Like to score a try like that, and then to put that on the back of that, that's a confidence killer. That one.
Was that where you thought, right, we're on here? This is happening.
There was still plenty to do. But I just thought that moment, that particular moment, because that's a killer. That is like, and being a young side too, you wonder how they actually handled that situation. You know, it was the same with Penrith when we played Melbourne, and Melbourne dished us that first half. And I left at half time because you're not coming back. You're not coming back from that, especially against a side that's got that quality in it. It's got that experience to be able to roll that game out. And I just don't think that Brisbane had that mentality at that time. You know, they'll be better for the run this year, but you know, you can't go away from what Nathan actually did in that game. It was off its head. Yeah,
so do you think there'd be any scars for the Broncos after that, or you think they'll be okay?
I think they're young enough to let that go, but it's like any opportunity. Sometimes you might not get there again. You know, like obviously Penrith back in '90. Well, you know, they let a few things off the field sort of get in their preparation before that game. Like a few stories from the boys, but then they were lucky enough to get back there next year, and they knew how to win it. They knew how to win it. You know, fortunately for us, we got the job done on one go, but it was that was only pretty much down to Luke Prittis, like Satz's tackle, like that changes the whole game. So that's how fine line it is in those games where, you know, obviously Luke come up with 3 extraordinary plays. Sats come up with one massive one, and that's what won the game.
Just sort of look, we talked a bit about how Nathan was the star of the show towards the end of that grand final and won it for the Panthers. I just wanted to talk about where you think he sort of sits among the greats at the moment. I mean, you know, he's only 26 years old and he's assembled the following CV. Halfback and captain in 3 Premiership winning teams the last 3 years. Halfback in Australia's 2021 Rugby League World Cup final win, which of course was held in 2022 because of the COVID pandemic. 2 Clive Churchill medals in 2021 and 2023. 2017 NRL season top point scorer. He's been a part of 3 New South Wales Origin Series wins in 18, 19 and 21. It's a remarkable CV for such a young man at just 26 years of age.
No,
Craig.
It certainly is. It is from what you just said. It's unbelievable. But there's one thing that misses for me, and that's the pure dominance of the Origin arena.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the only thing that holds that back, because I got the privilege to play with Andrew Johns in the 05. And to see what he did to that team at Lang Park was extraordinary.
Yeah. That's the thing. Nathan was a part of those 3 wins, but there was one year where Mitchell Pearce played in Game 3. He didn't play in all the games.
Don't get me wrong. It's a wonderful achievement to play for Origin. It's right up there. It's up there with your grand finals. But to put yourself like ahead of Andrew, that's the thing that sort of, for me, is the thing. But, you know, 3 grand finals, that's self-explanatory. You know, Clive Churchill's, the way he dominates the games, you know, it's insane, really. So, let alone for that, hands down already. But for me, and I think he's probably pushing the same. Like, for him, like, just the way I see him train, the effort he puts in, you know, he's the last one to leave. It just, they're all the attributes of, you know, one in a generation player. But it's just, and he's got plenty of years to go. So
you've got him right up there in that Andrew Johns conversation.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, his record says so.
You have to. You have to. So, and to see a guy do that, and especially from the area and so forth, but it's the small things. It's the things like how hard he trains. People don't see that sort of side to it. you know, and that's where young kids, if you go down and you watch him train, well, you better be there early and you better be there late. So that's how you become the best, by putting in the work.
Yeah, so you're sort of looking for Nathan to do what Joey Johns did in 2005 in a State of Origin series.
He doesn't have to do it, but he just has to be that dominant where, you know, if he didn't play or what, the game could have changed, or even, you know.
Yeah, well, if he could do what he did in that grand final in an Origin series and win an Origin series like that, then
you're just giving the immortal tag now.
Yeah, 100%. And we're talking about Nathan. I'm going to just move the conversation on to Ivan. I mean, his record is looking great now. Obviously, the 3 premierships in a row. That's the same number as Craig Bellamy and Trent Robinson. Obviously, for obvious reasons, Craig Bellamy had those 2 premierships stripped in 2007 and 2009. He's coached the Panthers to 3 minor premierships, 2020, 2022, 2023, 2 other grand finals in 2020 and 2011 with the Warriors, and Dally M Coach of the Year in 2014 and 2020. It's a phenomenal resume for both father and son, the Clearys.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I thought he was tired. I thought he was tired. But
that comment didn't really age well, did it?
Sometimes people make mistakes and shit happens and stuff, you know. But the thing is, I can't really comment on Ivan's coaching style, you know. But the thing I've seen him in meetings and so forth, it's his demeanour, the way he communicates with his players, and nothing phases Ivan. You've seen the way he played himself. He's a pretty relaxed sort of guy. You know, I haven't been in a box with him to understand if he gets flustered or what. But certainly, you know, when you have a team like that and you keep producing those guys to come out and to excel, that shows what a class of coach he is, to keep driving those boys, because it's pretty much the same guys. And I understand that comes from within. Same with the Melbourne, with their top boys that used to drive it. But you need a coach to give him the leadership to be able to do that, and he's certainly done a wonderful job. And you know, father and son to do what they've done, it's unheard of.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, just extraordinary.
I want to know what happens when Jet Cleary comes through, because obviously he's starting to play some decent football down in the lower grades, I understand. So
he might fill Jarome Luai's shoes.
I wonder if he's going to kick his brother out of halfback or something. You know?
Yeah. So this Penrith team are the first team in 40 years to win 3 premierships in a row. What do you like most about the current Penrith team? And I think they're the first ones going for 4 in a row since that great St George team back in the 50s and 60s that won 11 in a row.
Yeah, well, you know, it starts with your forwards, and when you got Fisher Harris and Moses, Martin, Yowie, 4 international players. It's, you know, and then you got your other guys that have come through that just are rock solid players. They lay the platform, and then, as we just spoke about with Nathan, you know, he's a generational player. And then you've got a State of Origin 5'8". Dylan Edwards, you know, like, how good is he? Like, the funny thing about Dylan is that good of a player that probably gives you 8.5 out of 10 every game. And then you've got these other players that are better than him, but probably don't do that. They can be a bit hit and miss sometimes, you know. Like, I love Latrell, but to see, I'd be interested to see when Latrell can actually put a full season together where he's that consistent, where he'd be the best player in the game. I got hands down, but I don't know if he's got that capacity to be able to be that good every game.
You're talking about Dylan just before Dylan Edwards. Do you think he's really in the frame to take James Tedesco's number 1 jumper for New South Wales this year, or is that too big a call to?
Well, it's going to be interesting.
Tedesco.
Madge has already spoke about it's going to be on form. Now, if it's going to be on form, Jones needs to be playing well.
Yeah, well, you take from those comments that if you were to have to name the team tomorrow, Tedesco wouldn't be in it. Yeah. And you'd think Tedesco is going to have to play really well in the first 8 weeks to keep his spot.
Yeah, and which is fair play.
Yeah,
well, Matt's is a new coach coming in, so there's no relationships there. That he should be just picking on square. How am I going to beat Queensland?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Who are the best players that are going to give me the opportunity to win this game? Now, I understand Teddy's had a great off season, and he looked sharp in the trials. So you never count out a champion either. Mm-hmm. So it's he knows it's sort of on his back. So there was just one part of that first game that sort of he missed the boat on something, and I thought that's just not him. Mm-hmm. And where they scored, I think it was a kick in behind, and he was like 5 or 10 on the inside, and I thought that's not him, So maybe it was just an off game, an off season. You have them where you think that you mightn't have had the best prep or whatever, but you're trying to battle it back, but sometimes you just don't get it back, and the seasons go that quick, and you lose a little bit of confidence. It's sometimes it's better just to restart in the pre-season, and it looks like the Roosters themselves have done that as well. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you have to think, as well as Dylan Edwards, you think if Tom Trbojevic, fingers crossed, he can stay injury-free this season, you'd think he's also going to come into calculations for that number 1 spot as well for the Blues.
Well, you want the best players playing their best footy. And there was no better player a couple of years ago than Tommy Trbojevic.
Dally M in 2021.
Yeah. For what he did in the game. And then it's just sad to see that it's injuries that are keeping him out because he's a wonderful player, and he'll be in that side anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
If he's fit, he'll be in that side because they've shown that he can play a roving role and do it well.
Yeah, 100%. Just going back to your Panthers for a second, it's a remarkable record since the start of 2021. 68 of their 82 games they've won. So just an extraordinary win percentage in that time for the Panthers.
Well, it just shows that the high quality of personnel that they've got and what they try and do is to achieve, playing well week in, week out. You look at what... That's unheard of. That because to be up mentally for that long, and when they do get beat, it's not by much either. Like they're in the game, but they probably just hadn't played. They're probably 10% down on what they usually do, and they get done.
Yeah.
But it's just to be mentally that hardened to be able to produce that sort of. Those efforts week in, week out. It's it's a testament to the personnel and the coaching staff.
Yeah, tremendous record from Penrith over the last few seasons. It's quite remarkable. But one piece of silverware, probably the only piece of silverware they don't have in their trophy cabinet, is the World Club Challenge. Yes. And while we got you here, I thought we'd do a little preview of that game. That game's going to be held on Sunday morning, Australian Eastern Daylight Time, against the Wigan Warriors. The Panthers flying the flag for Australia. Hopefully they can get the job done in the World Club Challenge.
Yeah. Well, I looked at Wigan's team and I just thought, wow, like really, there wasn't many guys that I sort of knew in there. So they're a young side. Mm-hmm. Thompson's out.
Yes, failed his HIA, so he can't play.
Yeah, so he's a big loss. And I think Penrith are going a bit more prepared than what they were last year. So, they got beat by a field goal.
Yeah, and I say that, but that's the only, in this run of wins they've had. In 2022, the game was cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yep.
They were meant to play St Helens in 2022. It didn't go ahead, of course. And so that's the only time in this run of premierships they've had that they've actually played in the World Challenge, that 13-12 loss to St Helens last year. Hopefully they can get it done. It's a rematch of the 1991 World Club Challenge against when Wigan actually won 21-4. And I'm sorry to bring it up, Craig, but you did play in the 2004 one against Bradford and unfortunately got beaten. But
We had a good time, but
that's the main thing, right?
The hardest thing about that game is that it's in January. You've come off a big block of training, or I think even that year, I think we went on tour, so I didn't start training back till January anyway, and so it's a hard sort of game to sort of get prepared for, especially when the Super League, they're already started, so they're back into it. So
so it puts the Australian team at a disadvantage, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, but
yeah. Australian teams have won 7 of the last 9 World Club Challenge games. So,
well, if you look at it, our competition is a lot harder than their competition. I played over there for about 18 months, and it's a different style of game. Yes, they try and implement what we do here, but they just don't do it the same. It's as simple as that. It's fast flowing sort of game. It's a bit more. The old Super League days when I played, a bit more open. Yeah, there's a bit of wrestling and so forth in there, but it's nothing compared to what we produce here.
If you had to say sort of what intensity that is compared to the NRL, if that makes sense, like is it 70% of the NRL intensity, 80%?
There's still intensity there, but the game's just a little bit more open.
Right. Yeah.
That's probably the best way to explain it because it's. Yeah, there's still big contact. There's still some big bodies and all the rest of it. But over the full 80 minutes, it's not as hard to play.
Right. Did you prefer playing in that to playing in the NRL, or you preferred playing in the NRL?
Yeah. You find it. I found it easier here because you play with better players.
Yeah.
It's like anything when you're coming up when you're younger, and if you're playing good footy, and then you go and play in a representative side or whatever, it's easy to play well when you play around better players because they can understand you. And that's the biggest thing about getting to the top level. When I first come up and played reserve, I played about 4 games of reserve grade, and they were all the hardened-nosed old bloke coming back from first grade that just wanted to kill you. And but they could understand. They could be in positions, and sometimes you'd look at something, and in first grade, it was probably easier in first grade because someone was there quicker than what they were in reserve grade, and then you get pumped. So it was, but it's all part of the learning curve.
Yep. You reckon you'll get up and watch this one and hope?
Of course. I think. They're gunning for it, not having that silverware in the cupboard at the academy. I'm sure they'll be winning by at least 20.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, good luck to the Panthers. Yeah, as I said, taking on the Wigan Warriors Sunday morning Australian Eastern Daylight Time. In the 2024 World Club Challenge, so fingers crossed they can add that piece of silverware.
I think it's usually it's slippery over there. It's fast and slippery, so it's going to come down to ball handling, how well they perform. But usually over there, if you can control the nut, I think they'll be just too good.
Yeah, okay. So we've had our chat about the modern day Panthers. I wanted to go back to 2003, your Premiership. I want to have a chat about that. What are sort of? I know I've put you on the spot a little bit with this, but what are your finest memories of that night? It was
the night.
Yeah.
Or the days after.
Maybe not so many. Not so many memories. But yeah, just a phenomenal win for Penrith. The Roosters went into that game as the clear favourites, and you did a number on them.
Yeah. I think it was more the season itself because the year before, Preston come over, and then we had some young guys come through, and this is where the whole junior thing sort of come about because Luke Rooney, Lukey Lewis, Shane Rodney, Luke Swain, Trent Waterhouse come through, but he played a bit of local A grade, and it was those influx of players that made our group because we had some senior players there. Obviously Marty was there, Joel Clinton, Benny Ross. So and then you had Sats, Gerds in. So we had some quality in the team, and then just added with Preston coming in where he played off the cuff, and I think. Our game plan back then was just like 5 hit-ups, and then we just played what we see, because we had big boppers. We just pearl through the middle, and then whenever there was an opportunity, we'll just take it. And it was very simple the way we played, but we did it really well. We had a very indifferent start.
Yeah, the conditions were poor, weren't they? It was driving rain. Do you think that helped you that night, or?
You never know. You never know. I know that it was back then. It was one of the fastest games, grand finals, because I think both teams made over 300 tackles, which was I think it was the first. So I think it was one of those games where there was big moments, and it's whoever took those big moments. And as I spoke before, it was Sats's tackle. Like Gerd's put in that shit kick, and then Toddy Burns running away, and
6-all,
and that changes the game. You know, like obviously Luke went through and put Luke Rooney away. Then Luke went from dummy half, and then I was setting up for a field goal, and he went down the blind side and cut out through a 20-metre cutout in the rain. I was just thinking, what's he doing? But he hit him on the chest. You know, walks come flying in, come out of position, and that was the game. But two
tries for Luke Rooney. Yeah.
So that experience, but it's like you've worked your whole life, and yes, it's the dream and it's the goal and it's all the rest of it. But until you actually get your hands on it, like it's it's you don't understand. I'd hate to lose one. I'd hate to lose one, because that would just be something in you that just never went away. Even though you won one after it, I think it'd still be hurting, because there's always things that you can do better on a field, or there's better moments that you could have taken, and but certainly a great period for the team. The biggest thing also about is the community. The people of Penrith, the way that they support you, like, don't get me wrong, when you're not playing too well, you cop a spray. All right, there's a fair bit of that, but
you probably need that.
Well, you do, but it's just part and parcel. They pay to come in there to watch you. Like, and sometimes things don't go to your plan, but I think if you're always giving your all, and people can see that. If you're taking the piss, well, they'll see it too, and that's when you're copping a spray. So, but just the way it actually unites the community and people get behind it, and it's still the same today. It's still the same today, what it actually does, and we're like Newcastle in a way. It's just we're a big country town, but it's certainly getting into a city now.
Yeah, that Scott Sattler tackle on Todd Byrne at 6-all there in the second half, that sort of sits alongside some other great grand final moments. Like, you're thinking about, Thurston kicking that field goal in 2015, obviously what Nathan Cleary did last year. Yep. You're thinking about Joey Johns putting Darren Albert over for that try in 97. Yep. The Sattler try really sits up there among those iconic grand final moments.
Don't tell Sats that, all right?
Yeah. No, sorry, can we edit that out, producer John?
Can we put that out of Sats, all right? He loves bringing that up, old Satsy. Poor.
Do you still catch up with him a bit?
Yeah, we all catch up once a year. We catch up just on grand final week. We'll sort of come down, and Satsy's the chief organiser. He's like, yeah. So no, it's great. It's always great to catch up with the boys. And the funny thing is that you might not speak all year, but then you get there and it's like another day of training. Like, it just feels like yesterday, and it's always great to experience those things with the boys, because you've shared something so wonderful that not many people get to do.
Yeah, is there one story about that 03 Premiership that you maybe haven't shared, that just an interesting little story that you can think of maybe that you might want to?
Not really. Or they're all being sort of documented. The hijacking of the bus and all the rest of it. So it's been it's funny what you sort of get away with when you win something. Like, not as like it was bad, but it was sort of it was interesting what sort of how it sort of went down, and the club filling up a taxi full of alcohol so they get you out of there and all the rest of it. But it's it was certainly the funny thing was that I went to, not last year, the year before, went back to the Leagues Club after the grand final win, and it was nothing like our time. where there was like so many people in there. There's like probably 10,000 people. There was people standing on the poker machines. And it was just so calm in there. I'm thinking, what's going on here? You know, I just couldn't really grasp it how times have changed that much where you can't enjoy yourself as much as what you used to.
Yeah, it'd be nice if people could still enjoy a premiership win.
Yeah, well, it's but I suppose it is what it is.
Yeah, did you have a 20-year reunion last year?
Yes, we did.
Oh yeah, awesome.
Yep.
We saw all the guys got there, did they?
Except
Pretty
Preston.
much. Except Preston. Yeah, okay.
Presto is sort of not into that sort of stuff. So, but it was good. We had. We did some stuff with the club, which was great, and then we also Luz Ivanovic put up a box, and another guy from Doolan Plumbing put up his box, and we sort of just hung in there and did a lap, and it was certainly a touching moment, walking around the field with the crowd there and going into the sheds after the game. It was actually pretty funny. It was some good times in there, and it's just great to experience, hanging out with the young fellas and being a part of, their win on that night, which I think they pumped the Roosters, I think it was, or they pumped someone. Yeah, so it was good.
Yeah, great. 2003, obviously a great year for winning the premiership. One other sort of piece of silverware you should have had in that year was the Dally M medal. Now, unfortunately, it wasn't awarded that year because of that RLPA boycott to improve wages and conditions.
Yep.
But it's bizarre to me. I would have thought it's either one or two things. Either the votes have been taken already and they can just add them up and retrospectively award you the medal, or if there may be some games late in the season where they didn't award the votes, where it went behind closed doors. You could just get, journalists, commentators, ex-players to look back at the vision of the games and give the 3-2-1 now and then add the votes up and give you the medal, I would have thought.
Do I be controversy here? Or what?
So it's up to you.
It's at the end of the day, I thought we were doing the right thing. And we actually did the right thing because we did get conditions changed on that time, and it wasn't just me. It was just I'm at the head of it because I was in line to win the Dally M. So all the players banded together. It was all or nothing pretty much, and that's what it would come down to. So we did some good things, and we got it changed, and that was the mark of it. Now I've spoke to Phil Rothfield and. Phil's spoken to the league, but, he's gone through the counting. He knows that I won it, but the NRL still think that there's dark cloud. Now, the strangest thing about that is they don't do the voting. The Daily Telegraph does. So how would they know? But it is what it is. We need to move on, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I just would have thought. If the Daily Telegraph were in charge of it, they've done the votes are there, I would have thought very easy decision. But anyway.
Obviously, black's black and white's white, but there's something's in the middle there.
Yeah. Anyway, great that you got the premiership ring that year anyway.
I'd take that any day over
100%. Yeah, 100%. Just sort of moving away from the Panthers now and looking more at the game in general, is there anything you sort of particularly like or dislike in the game today that you wanted to raise tonight?
It's sort of funny. When I was doing some stuff with the Massey and stuff, it was all about their contact was in this part range of your body, which is around the ball. And I was just sort of thinking about what it does is that there's no more legs tackles anymore because it's a weak. They call it a weak tackle, and then they get a quick play of the ball. Now, so they all hit high, and what it does for me is that's what brings into the headshots, and then that's when more wrestling comes into it, and I think I think it's been detrimental to the game because it's actually taken the skill out of the game because everything now is so structured. We see the same plays, and it actually gets a bit boring. And now, I think the only way now is you need a bit of second phase plays, or because very rarely there's a bloke left on the ground, hardly ever left on the ground. If there is, then there's a quick play ball and they play off the back of it and they play off the cuff. And I like seeing that sort of play, because that's when you see some creative blokes come in and do their stuff.
Yeah.
So I would love to see some changes around their contact. And if they do go low, if they do get underneath the ball like Tom Travojevic, he gets rewarded for it. Yeah. That's when he's allowed to wrestle. Not if they're kicking out, they blow the penalty because he's holding on.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's where he should be allowed to wrestle and start moving towards the top of the body, because he's made a clean tackle. Yeah. And what it does, that filters down to the young kids. So the parents are not worried about getting concussed and so forth, because you actually bring in technique back in of actually how to tackle properly. Yeah. You've seen Brad Arthur's young bloke get KO'd because he put his head in front of his hips. Now, he's done that, but if he actually got in and went underneath the ball, it's a completely different tackle. Yeah. It's only because he got squashed and he come in the wrong way. Yeah. So I'd love to see some change around that. I don't know how they would bring it in, because you're trying to peel back years of wrestling, and that's just instilled into these blokes now. So. And that's the only thing that I don't really like, because they're wonderful players. They're big, they're strong, they've got so much skill, but it's the same skill. I've seen Adam Reynolds kick over the top and score a try there. I was back to Phil Blake days. I really enjoyed
Brett
seeing
Mullins.
I've seen stuff like that. That's classed as a low percentage play now, but and it just shows you how it's gone, because you can't put your team in a bad position, because they're going to go down there and put you in a position where you're kicking off out of your 30 or your 40 because you're peeling the back. So I understand there's ways, but when you're teaching people just to hit here and hit here only, you soon get hit the ball and it hits straight to their chin. So I'd like to see the NRL actually look at trying to get them to change their technique in a way where, as I said, if you're hitting under the ball or whatever it is, you get rewarded for it. You're allowed to lay a little bit longer. But if you hit two blokes are hitting up on the top, roll, you're out. Yeah. So, if you're rolling, you're out, then it's quick play the ball, because you can't sit there and wrestle him on the ground. And that's the biggest thing, where they sit there and they wrestle, and then they get the third man in, and then they put him on the ground, and then they peel. Nah, you're out, roll. Because no one was making a concerted effort to actually get underneath the ball or make a low tackle. Yeah, and
that's a great point you make about bringing that legs tackle back for the kids as well, alleviating that concussion concern for the parents as well. That makes a lot of sense.
The big concussion thing is because their technique's so far out, they can't go low no more. Tell me when back in the day where there was a crusher tackle, there wasn't. They were never there. No. And now all of a sudden they are, because they're hitting two blokes on top and they put him to the ground. They come over the top on his head. Yeah,
Dom Young got done with one on the weekend.
You've seen that. So if you're trying to make it safer, why wouldn't you try to look at that sort of stuff? There's some smarter blokes in there. They should be able to speak about what could be advantage for the growth of the game.
Yeah, 100%. And I like how you mentioned those kick over the top tries. I remember Brett Mullins, I think it was against Newcastle, won a double kick over the top to score. Had Billy Slater in Origin in 2004 who did it.
Alfie Lang, his little grubbers. I understand the game changes. I get it. I don't want to sound like the old bloke, but it's just, when you see that skill. And it's not taken away from the blokes today. They could certainly do it, but they're just not allowed to do it. Yeah. That's what it is. Not the way that the way that it was before. And I understand the game evolves and all the rest of it, but sometimes seeing that skill is actually it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I was just going to raise something with you that annoyed me from the trials on the weekend. I just couldn't work out why they were using the bunker in trial. These are trial games that are meaningless games, and we're stopping. We're looking at decisions. We've got captain's challenges. It's just, and I know that there's that argument. The officials have got to get themselves ready for the season and all that. But I just thought we spend enough time during the season sitting around waiting for decisions. I think it'd just be nice in the pre-season to just do away with the bunker for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I can't see why you can't do that. They don't need to go on that. They can say that. They can be in the box and just say and just talk to themselves pretty much to get their decisions. Like if it's you're talking about because you're just trying to pile through the players as well because the players are trying to get a bit of mileage in their legs and so forth. So that actually makes the game a little bit quicker and sort of gets their fitness up to speed. But all that bunker stuff the problem is they still can't get it right. And that's what does your head in. Yeah. Because you go on, and then because it's a 50-50, then you've got people saying this and that, and sometimes you just want to go. Yeah. The decision on field's been done. That's it. But none of them have got the balls to do it. But now, no. So every time you see someone score, very rarely they'll just point to the spot and then just go, "We're playing on." Because they straight away because it's like they can't make a decision now or they're scared because they're going to get hammered for it.
Yeah. Their obsession with getting the decision right comes at the expense of the spectacle. The fans pay the price because they have to sit there and wait 5 minutes for decisions. It just does your head in. And, like you say, they don't even get it right all the time anyway.
Well, if a decision's taken 5 minutes to get to explain...
I might be exaggerating.
Well, even if it's taken a minute and a half, right? If it's taken a minute and a half, they don't know. It's a 50-50.
Yeah.
100%. So that means doesn't matter what he says, people are going to say, no, that's not a try, and people are going to say that it is a try. So what's the difference? So if you can't look at that first thing in say first 3 frames, it's 50-50. Send it back.
Yep.
Leave it up to him. Because you just looked at it 3 times and you can't determine straight away what it actually is, take it back.
Yeah, 100%.
Leave it with the on-field.
100%. Hopefully we're not held up too much by the bunker once the season proper gets underway.
It might be good in Vegas. They might know what's going on.
Yeah, well, you bring up Vegas. Well, that's a nice little segue. We'll move on to that. I wanted to get your thoughts on the NRL's decision to open the season there with that double header.
For me, it's unreal. Yeah. But it's all about how much money they can generate. It's all about gambling. Yeah. That's what it's about. You're not taking it there for any other reason. Yes, you're trying to grow the game. I understand, you get, 2% of that market, like 60 million people. So it's not, I understand why they've gone there. You know what, one thing that sort of makes me sort of giggle, you got a team that's won 3 comps in a row and they're not there. They're the best team in the comp. So now, the teams that are there, they've got an affiliation in America. That's the only reason why they're there. So, which is fine. That's fine. But what's going to happen next year? West Tigers going? I want to know who's going to go. Is it going to go? Is it going to change every year? There's some. It would be quite interesting to see how it plays out. But I think it's great for the. It's great for the people. There's going to be that many people travelling from Australia to go there because it's one of those things that's a bit of a novelty and all the rest of it, but also the Australians that live in America and the Americans themselves, because we played America in Philadelphia on an Australian tour at one of the colleges, amazing facilities, and it's to see they love the contact. But what they don't understand is that there's so many questions about our rules. So that's going to need to be explained properly to actually sort of make a real good inroad into America. But they certainly love the contact.
And they have. You mentioned though who's going to go next year. Well, there've been some issues with the teams who've decided to go this year with getting visas and getting training fields available, and just logistical issues that are making this difficult.
That's all part and parcel sometimes, but surely they've got to have enough clout to go to the American embassy to go. It's a team environment. We understand. Get it past. One thing I will say, but is that. When you're taking the game to America and you've got guys like Hardgraves that's suspended, I would have thought the NRL would have said they would have got all the teams in and said, listen, we are taking our best players We don't care if they got a suspension or not. This is about the growth of the game. This is about generating money for you guys, the players, the clubs, us.
Yep.
And we have to make an inroad. And the only way we do that is by having our best players on the field. I don't know why that has not happened. Why would you want Hardgraves coming off the back fence? That's what people want to see. I just think it's detrimental not having your best team on the field. Obviously, if there's injuries, you understand that, but not for a suspension.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I guess it is the sort of thing that, I think this is the sort of thing that would make the AFL's blood boil as well. They go, the NRL are opening their season in Las Vegas. I think that would really get under the skin of the AFL, and I think that's a good thing from the NRL's point of view.
Yeah, it certainly is. But, you look at the AFL, they're a big organisation themselves. They are all around Australia, but they're nowhere else out.
No.
So at the end of the day, where can they grow to? Really?
Well, nowhere.
Nowhere. They're not going anywhere because there's no international game yes, they go and play the Island boys, but it's a different sort of
hybrid game.
Hybrid game itself. Yeah. So really, they're only going to generate here. So they don't have the same capacity to venture out elsewhere. So, but they have a wonderful game, and they promote that game unbelievably well. They get into the schools. They do that stuff that brings the young kids in. There's nothing better when you go to a school, and I know when you're at a young school, and then you see a Penrith play turn up and they've got footies for you and stuff like that. Oh, you sign me up now.
Yeah. Yeah, their crowd figures and membership figures are just phenomenal, aren't they?
They are, but the thing about that game is that you can't watch AFL on TV. Because
much easier.
When you watch at the ground, you see people running off the ball, and it actually shows you the game itself. But you don't see that on the. I can't watch it on TV
because the ball moves too quickly, doesn't it? Whereas in rugby league, it's just being passed in a straight line.
Because the blokes on the outside, they're not actually running off the ball. Yeah. They're just behind their defensive line. So or they're in attack or so forth. But you see some bloke running out in the wing just sprinting, some bloke's chasing him. You think what's he doing? But then the ball's going out there somehow, So it's. I think that's why people go to the games a lot more because you see the actual what these guys have to do to get the ball.
Yeah, rugby league's certainly a better television game of the two. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, definitely.
That double header, Manly v South, 1:30 p.m. Sunday, the 3rd of March at Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas. That's Australian Eastern Time, obviously, followed by the Roosters and the Broncos. So that'll be a really good double header. You reckon you'll watch that one?
Yeah, I'll watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'll be a great experience for as league fans to watch that one for sure. Just going to ask as well, as we're talking about the league more generally now, is there a team you think that might be a big improver this season in the NRL?
I think a lot of teams are going to improve. I think the season is shaping up to be one of the. It was tight last year. I think it's just going to. That's the way it's trending. I watched that St George parts of that St George South game and.
The first half was pretty ordinary, wasn't it?
They had good intent, but they got no strike.
Yeah.
And then you got Jack Bird out in the centres, Lomax on the wing. I'm thinking, what would you put Lomax on? Lomax on probably $700,000 plus, and you play him on the wing. I don't know. Flano's won a grand final. I haven't as a coach, so I'm just going. I don't see that, and. They're missing some strike to be competitive.
I mean, what he did do at Cronulla though, Flanagan, was he did take them from being a team down the bottom of the ladder and took them to a premiership. So you just really hope that.
Yeah, but they had to buy.
Yeah, exactly. But you just hope that they give him the time to do that, to get his house in order. You hope they don't sort of move on him too quickly if they have a couple of poor seasons. The Dragons.
If they don't, how dumb are they? You can't just change what's been implemented over a number of years. Like after Wayne left, like it's just gone. It's been mediocre.
Yeah.
And then it's actually trying to get the best out of your players that you got there. They're gonna need some kids to jump out of the ground for them to be competitive.
Yeah.
And if I'm Flano, I'm going to be youth. You might as well just blood them and go and give them a crack, because then you can see if they've got it or they don't have it. And the biggest thing with what Penrith do is actually they get their young guys to come and train with the first grade. So they bring them up in the pre-season and they train with them. And it shows you how to be a professional, what the quality that you want to be like when you train. And the results are, as you can see, what the results are doing.
Yeah.
And what that does is that actually shows you, as an organisation, has that kid got it? Yes, it's only training, but you can see if he's got it. Like it's not that hard to see if what he's producing against quality players.
Yeah, is there a team that you want to single out as one who might improve this year, sort of stand out improvers?
I want to see the Gold Coast. I want to see what
under Des.
I want to see Mad Desi does.
Yeah,
he's a wonderful coach. I thought he coached the wrong way when he went to the Dogs. Like he had a lot of that second man shit plays in, and I wasn't a fan of that, because that took away from the halves, and that's creative stuff. And
I'm a Bulldogs fan, and I remember the first season he got there in 2012. He had James Graham and Sam Cassiano were the halves. They were playing like the halves. They were the forwards were ball playing. Yeah. But the problem was in that off season after 2012, other teams picked up on it, and he didn't adjust after that.
He just stayed the same.
Yeah, other teams worked it out.
It's not that hard to work out, and you can see as a big bloke they haven't got the same agility to actually pass on the run. So it's pretty much. You could read it like a book.
Because you played for the Knights in 2013. Did you get a go against the Dogs that year against that? Did you? I know it's a long time ago. But yeah, I'd be interested to see.
I didn't. No,
yeah,
I didn't.
Okay. I'd be interested to see what you thought of actually playing against that style. But it was just so interesting to watch it. That they called all these teams out in 2012, and then he just never changed that style, and they all cottoned onto it.
The Gold Coast didn't play anything like that against the Dolphins, even though the young kids and those young kids had a crack too. They went all right, and I'd be interested to see how the Dolphins play too. I think O'Sullivan was. Yeah, he looked really slow in that game, and hopefully that's not the case. Because he plays well, but they're probably one good half away from, especially having Flegler there and Farnworth. Like they were really good. And then you got Jesse Bromwich to come in there, the Bromwich boys. So they're going to have a strong pack. The way Wayne coaches, so you know the effort's going to be there, and sometimes winning is just on effort too.
Yeah, well, you played under Wayne that year in 2013 at the Knights. So you really hope that the Dolphins can get up for him this year.
Yeah, I want to see all those sides get better. Especially even the West Tigers. They've got some good players in there, and it's going to be interesting to see how Benji actually takes the year. Especially after now, Sheensy's gone and. Now it's all on his shoulders, and they've. It's a monumental task.
And the way it happened, it was funny the way it happened too, wasn't it? It was sort of he was meant to serve a 2-year apprenticeship under Sheens as assistant coach, and it's sort of happened in a really strange way. They've sort of gone, oh no, it's too hard for Tim Sheens, so Benji, they fast track Benji, takes over after 1 year as an assistant.
I think they're trying to shield him away. So you don't get the brunt of the media, especially when you start losing. They're coming for you, and that's how it is. They just it's cutthroat.
Yeah.
Now, how long do they persist with that? It's going to be interesting to see. I know they beat the Warriors, but the Warriors had no one in, and the Tigers had their players in there. So, I don't wish unwell on any team, because I've been there where you're losing games. It's awful. It's awful. You go home and that's all you think about. You think about that because you're not winning. But when you're winning, it's the other way around. How good's life? It's just it's so easy. It's not easy, but it's a lot more enjoyable. And but I think it's going to be really close. So you're still going to have your top teams, the Bronx, Melbourne. It'll be interesting how Roosters go because it seems like they've had a real good reset.
Yeah,
and
Dom Young was the top try scorer last year. Spencer Leniu, one of the best impact forwards in the game.
I think it's good. I think it's more down to Sam Walker and Cleary, but it's because of
more so than Tedesco.
I think so because that's where their play's going to come from. Teddy was just coming in there trying to do everything because it wasn't happening. So he's in there becoming a just first receiver, trying to get the boys over the line. But I think that was detrimental to him because he's doing so much work, and then you're taking away that zest that he has. And Sammy Walker, he's a very creative young fella. Now I wonder what went on there. Yeah, he had the injury, then he got dropped. You don't know what the inner workings of what actually happened, and then hopefully Lukey Keary he doesn't get a head knock or anything like that. That's where he's sort of at the moment. But they played well the other day. They look sharp. So
I think it's fair to say they underachieved last year. I mean, they got knocked out in the second week of the finals. They only just scraped past Cronulla in that first week of the finals. I think that they'd be disappointed with last year. They'll want to improve on that. They'll be looking for a top 4 finish this year.
They'll be looking, but it just depends.
Yeah, will it happen?
And the funny thing is that you watch the first 5 rounds. Usually when you watch the first 5 rounds, it's down to ball control who can start the season well, and if that usually that sort of propels. You've seen South drop off from nowhere. Now, you wonder what actually went down there. So there's a lot of question marks around South.
How bizarre was that? Led the competition after 11 rounds and then missed the top 8. Yep. You'd have to think if they start the season poorly and if they miss the 8, Demetriou's got to be under some serious pressure.
Well, Sam Burgess doesn't say something for nothing. Now, and his stature in the game, what he did as a player, he was always about working hard, working for your teammates and the rest of it. Now, hopefully Jack Whiten comes in and hardens a couple of the boys up about how to train properly and how to get the job done, because they've got all the ability in the world. And then there's going to be the question mark around Lachlan. Now, his kicking game was a bit dusty the other day. I'd like to see his kicking game get a bit sharper and see what he can do just to direct them around the park and try and take a little bit of pressure off Cody. But Cody's going to be their number 1. So it's down that left side. It's they're how creative he is and quick but it's easily you're easily able to ruffle his feathers. But that's the thing. He needs to be able to control his head. I think personally,
Cody,
because he just loses the plot, and if you niggle him, and they're not, if they're winning, it's fine, but if they're losing and that, he just it's easy to tip him. You get him up and he's pushing and shoving and shit. That gets you nothing. What are you going to do? You're not going to throw a punch. You're pushing and shoving some bloke, and it's just not good for your head.
Yeah.
You're trying to get back into the game. You need to be a bit more. And he should know, at his age, he's that quality of a player. If he just got that shit out of his game, he'd be unbelievable.
Yeah, now needs to calm down. Sam Burgess thought him and Latrell Mitchell were receiving preferential treatment last year.
Sometimes players in their position do. It's as simple as that.
That's the way it is.
It's the way it is. It's keeping them. Trying to keep them in control, but also, you give them a little bit of rope but if it becomes detrimental to the team and it's actually getting shown in front of the team, well, it's up to the coach to pull them in line and say, hey, pull your heads in because it's not a good look for the team. You're not doing the right thing by the team. And if Burjo's doing that and he's bringing it up, well, and the coach is not doing it, well, there's certainly got to be question marks.
Yeah, I found it extraordinary, those reports that...
But see how he shut his mouth, but he shut his mouth. Yeah. That was because of Russ, see?
I just found those reports extraordinary that Russell Crowe hung the phone up on Sam Burgess and essentially sided with Demetria. You'd have to think.
You never know the ins and outs.
Yeah. That was reports. Yeah. You don't know how true they are, but it's reportedly.
There's always many stories, that There's always many stories.
Yeah, I just finally before we wrap up, what is we talked about the Tigers before. What is your gut feel with Benji as a coach? You reckon he'll have success in the long run, or it's sort of to be decided, isn't it?
It's a really hard one because I got coached by Royce Simmons, and he went straight from playing to coaching, and he even says today it was the wrong thing to do. Now, hopefully it's different for Benji, and it's not an easy task, But the other side of that, he did play. Simo played with some of us as well, and Benji has as well. So it's trying to get away from that sort of stuff, but he's got all the attributes to be a good coach. Like he's a very intelligent bloke. He knows how to play the game. It's just getting the best out of each individual and being that puppet master to know what strings to pull. And that's why Wayne is so good at what he does. Like he knows how to get you up. Like Wayne can talk to you on Tuesday and you're ready to play on Wednesday. And then if you're a young bloke, he'll be hard on you. If you're an older bloke, he already knows your character. So he just pulls and picks, and if he wants to say something cheeky, he'll say something. If not, But the way he just bonds a team together, it's unheard of.
It's going to be interesting. Yeah, hopefully the West Tigers can turn it around this year. 2 straight wooden spoons. Fingers crossed they can have some success real soon.
Yeah, well, they've gone through some big changes. You've got Shane Richards in there that I work with at Penrith. So certainly one of the best CEOs going around.
That's got to help. Yep.
He knows how to make the tough decisions. He's not afraid to make the tough decisions. So
that's what they need.
That's what you're going to get from Shane. And it's going to be about the players wanting to play and wanting to perform, wanting to just play on effort. Sometimes skill might be down, but if you have 17 players going out there busting their ass, ready to play, you'll win games. That's how it is. Yep. Because you can win on effort plays. Just doing those small things really well, it'll put you in the game because you're in there till the death.
100%. Well, thanks very much, Craig. I'm just going to wrap up with a few housekeeping things here. We've got our SmartB tipping competition. Don't forget to sign up for the tipping competitions in the NRL and AFL. There are up to $20,000 in prizes up for grabs. Tip against Mitchell Pearce and Julie Snook, our ambassadors. We have another ambassador right here, the great Craig Gower. It's great news. We're really happy to have you on board, mate. Also, the tip of the day. Sign up to SmartB for the tip of the day. The subversion competition. You can also win 2 tickets to Subversion to see SmartB ambassador Jaco Driscoll compete on the card. The SmartB Racing Update podcast. They're going well with the tips, the boys on the racing podcast. So listen to the SmartB Racing Update on Spotify and all podcasting platforms, soon to be on YouTube as well. And also follow the SmartB app at SmartB app on social media. Thanks very much to Craig Gower. Great to have you, mate. Thanks very much for coming in.
Dan, pleasure. The boys tipping Stormboy for the slipper. Have we got a bit of info on that or what?
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
You don't know?
We might have to tune in and find out, I think, Craig.
No, because I've got about... there's a few mates of mine that own... They've got some percentages in that horse. Very lucky boys.
Yeah.
They bought that out of a pub, they did.
So, yeah, I bet you're wishing you had something in that.
Just bad decisions.
Thanks very much, Craig. We'll speak to you again soon, mate. And, thanks again for coming on.
Thanks, Dan. Cheers.